What's up, Internet? Brandon here with episode 5 of Free2Play Weekly. We'll be taking a look at the games from this week. There are some good ones in there this week that I really enjoyed. We've got 17 games to look at, and then a few that I'll talk about at the end that I didn't play. And then I'm continuing to tweak sound and volume on this, so this one should be a little louder than last video. I know that my audio's been fluctuating and I'm trying to get the right balance. The really loud video I amplified in post, and I'd rather do it at recording time. And so hopefully this volume works out well. If there's any issues with the audio, just comment so I know and I can continue to refine my process. That having been said, let's dive right in. The recommended game for this week is a game called Constantine Scores. It is a fun little heist game. There's a ton of upgrades and weapons to acquire. You can get health packs that give you full health bars, and you can hold up to 3 of them. So as you're running around the map, you can find health packs. Sometimes when you're hacking, it'll stall out and you need to restart it, which is something I didn't notice the first time I played through. And I had to run back and restart it, and I mean by then I was just getting swarmed by all these big bads and stuff, and so I was having a really hard time. If you hit H, it'll trigger your drone, and if you hit Shift, it'll trigger your equipped ability. And your drone gives you a little bit of suppressive fire, also draws enemies, and then your ability can change over time. The first one gives you, I think, additional defense. But like I said, you earn money when you do a heist, and then after you earn money, you can use that to buy new weapons. You can buy, better armor. You can buy new abilities. You can upgrade your drone. You can upgrade a number of there's pieces that you can get to increase your health for upgrades to your arms and legs and stuff. So there's just a ton of upgrades. I tried out a new weapon for my second playthrough, and I thought that the rifle was a lot easier to use than the starting rifle, and so I liked that rifle a lot. It had a better scope, which I liked when I was zooming in. And yeah, it's a fun game. It's kind of chaotic, things keep spawning to come and stop you from robbing the place you're at, and they get bigger and bigger and harder to defeat. And so that keeps you kind of trying to do things as efficiently as possible and make sure that you hit that evac in time to collect the score that you've secured while you're there. So it's a nice little heist game with a ton of upgrades and a ton of content to be discovered, and so it gets my recommendation of the week. StarDust is a chaotic three-dimensional battle arena. You fly around, try to shoot at things, try to not get shot. When you blow some things up, there are power-ups or things you can fly through to acquire. I don't know if in the multiple games that I played against the bots, if I ever hit anything. I shot a lot and maybe came close to hitting something once or twice. I hit destructibles, but I never hit another character in the map, I don't think. So it was fun. I did my last game I played. I think my ship got disabled. I just stopped moving. So that's something to be careful of. Don't get shot too much, I guess. But it's pretty cool. Graphics. It's a relatively smooth gameplay. I didn't feel like any glitching or anything, although it was a little difficult to get used to the controls. It definitely wasn't anything impossible. And it may be, a fun game to play with other people as well. Return to Campus is a rather large free-to-play game that has really good graphics, really large open world to explore. But the gameplay and story can be offensive, definitely not for children. The content leans adult. For example, there's a button that at any time you can press to pee if you want to, just pee on things. There's also some dialogue that not my favorite in terms of the words used and how they portray certain things, but the graphics and the movement in the game were smooth. The game definitely, like I said, it's funny because it's like more adult centric, but the writing kind of trends a little juvenile in nature. And so, yeah, it's a you go to college from your humble beginnings and you try to make money mostly by stealing things and then selling them on the black market. So that's the core gameplay loop that I was able to ascertain in my brief time with it. And for this clip, I'm just going to show me shooting basketballs because, like I said, the rest of the game doesn't really fit the vibe of my channel, if you will. Play Together is a community sim with different mini games to do. I fished, I caught a bug, I rode around on a skateboard, I even won a couple rounds of a battle royale, and of course did some math like you do. There's a lot to this game. Different things to collect. I think there were over 1,000 fish, which is crazy. Someone who enjoys fishing in video games, being like, "Oh man, how long would it take me to catch all 1,000 different fish that are available?" is something that is tempting. There's a lot of cash purchases, but it's cosmetic stuff, and I think you can buy tokens so that you can go play the battle royale if you run out. But I think you get so many a day, so you can play it a few times, and if you win, you get more, etc. So there's a lot of depth to the amount of content, both from pets and from fish and bugs and clothing and whatever. I assume at some point there's an apartment. I wasn't able to find it in the time that I played the game, but there's probably an apartment you can decorate. So it's definitely more of a casual sim. Think like Tower United or Tower Unite, where you can kind of just walk around, hang out with people, and then do mini games on the side. So if that's the type of thing you like, I mean, it's a good game. I recommend it. Relentless Expanse is a strategy game where you build up units on different planets and then use them to take over other planets when your numbers exceed the planet that you're trying to take over. It's a simple concept. It's fun to play. You basically can move all your units to kind of protect your front line, and then try to push your opponent out or like catch them at times where they maybe have less units at a location and you can take it over behind them and then they have to try to backtrack. I played against a computer and I was able to win, but like I think against other people it would definitely be a lot more difficult. The computer made some predictable moves that I was able to capitalize on. But yeah, so you just slowly expand your sphere of influence and try to take over as much of the map as you can while not being too depleted on your planets. And so, working your way toward a single point of entry where you can kind of stack your units is the play style that I chose when I played through it. And like I said, it's a nice little game. I enjoyed it. It's an interesting concept, and I think it's well executed. The Machines Arena is a top-down arena game that has a couple different game modes. There's a payload escort mode or a demolition mode where you have to like take a bomb and go plant it and let it explode, or you have to defend from the bomb being planted and defuse it if it gets planted. The one competitive game I was able to queue into with multiplayer was a payload game, and it was a lot of fun. Our team worked well together for the most part. I was playing a character that had like a tactical airstrike for an ultimate, and so whenever we got wiped, I would just come back and drop this airstrike on top of the point and kill all their team, and then we could start pushing again. It's a fun top-down game. There's a decent amount of characters with unique abilities. It is hard sometimes to know if a area of effect is yours or your opponent's and what you can and can't stand in, but that's just any game that you're learning, right? When you're joining it for the first time and don't really know what characters do and such. So I enjoyed this game a lot. It was in my running for Game of the Week. So check it out. And if you like arena shooters and if you like top-down shooters and you like shooting shooters with shooting, this is a game for you. Orbital Cascade is a nice little action puzzler where you shoot colored balls into different sections of the play area, and as long as those colored balls are within their colored section, when you match 3 of them up, they will remove themselves from the map. The colors that are set on the map rotate every minute, I think it says, and whatever. It felt like more than a minute. It felt like 2 or 3, but that's probably just the stress of trying to figure out where to shoot these things so that they're in the right spot. So there's some strategy to kind of stacking things where it's going to be that color in a minute or two, so that when it does move to that location, you can clear a giant stack instead of only clearing 3 at a time. There's also a cursor that starts on the outside of the gameplay area and adds a new ball every like 6 seconds, and so those are always a different color, and so there's a little bit of trying to figure out how to get rid of those as they're filling in. And as you grow your amount of balls that are kind of out around the outside because you aren't able to break them for whatever reason, it starts filling in closer and closer to the center, making it more and more difficult to not fail. You fail as soon as a ball comes outside of the play area, and I think with the game I played, I failed because I missed my shot. Like, I should have been able to shoot it and not fail, but I just barely missed, and so it stayed on the inside of the circle, which meant that I lost. But I was almost dead anyway. There was so many just disparate colors everywhere, so it's not like had a big pile I was ready to clear by any means. But it's a fun little game, and if you like puzzle style action games, then check this one out. Eternal Night Glory is a tower defense style game where you choose which defenses you want to take with you into the game, and then you can place them and upgrade them, and some of them you can control where they'll like shoot where your cursor is on their timer, and then other ones kind of run automatically. I played probably 4 games, and the 4th one was by far my best one. I was using like the light beams where it's like a solid line, and that was helping a lot. So I was taking those, give them a couple upgrades of damage, of piercing, or whatever they call it, where you can go through people, and then number of shots so that I could have multiple beams running at the same time. And those were able to clear waves significantly better than anything that I had tried prior. There is a component of like leveling up to face harder things that you can do pretty much on any cadence, I believe, and it gives you a new hand of cards, and those cards can then be played onto your turrets, or they can be traded in on the left hand side to get a different card or an upgraded card, and you can play those on your turrets to make them stronger, but you're also going to be facing stronger things because you leveled up the gameplay by advancing it. And so sometimes you want to build up money before advancing so that you can upgrade your turrets using the money portion, and then you can replete your card playing currency, which is a separate currency, and play new cards after your turrets are upgraded. So there's a little bit of balance of when do I go to the next area versus when do I stay here and upgrade my turrets a little more so that I can go into the next round with a little bit better firepower. It's a fun game. I enjoyed it a lot. I like this art style. It's got some good color scheme and like flashiness to it that I enjoyed. And I think there's a lot of depth between all of the turret types that it would take a decent amount of time to try them all out and see which ones really can carry you through. Like I said, light beams worked for me to get further than I had prior, but that doesn't mean that they're the best in the game. I'm sure if you try it out, you can find an even better combo. Templar is a nice side-scrolling arcade-style video game. I used a controller. I think it's required, but even if it's not, it's definitely a lot easier to play with a controller. You're able to double jump, which is something I didn't know at the beginning, and so I was just like, I can't move past this tiny jump, but you can double jump, so make sure when you're walking up to things you hit jump twice so that you can make it over whatever you're encountering. You'll take damage if you encounter one of the enemies, but you will die if you touch the spikes. So make sure you're not landing on the spikes, and try to avoid getting hit by enemies, obviously, too. I also wasn't able to use the joystick for this game, so I only used the D-pad. My joystick was acting weird, specifically with this game, because I used my joystick for the other game that I used a controller on this week. The gameplay, though, was pretty good, walking around, jumping over things. You collect items. You have to open your item menu to utilize them, so they aren't like automatic. So when it says plus 10 health, you didn't gain 10 health, is something that you can utilize to recover 10 health. And you open your item menu with your start button or your options button, depending on what type of controller you're using. And then you can go through, I made it through the first couple levels, jumping through and attacking things. And, the art style I think is nice. There's a lot of blood, but you're a Templar, that's par for the course when you're crusading about against maybe zombies, maybe demons. I don't know. But it was a fun game. I enjoyed it. It's definitely worth checking out if you liked old school arcade games or anything in that vein. Well, Dumb was, dumb. It's a game where you swipe about, I think is what it says on its store page, but I'm not on a touch screen. I am on a computer, desktop, and so I was just swinging my mouse wildly around my desk, hoping to maybe trigger where it says you can sometimes catch fish from the well. And so I just swung my mouse around for 10 minutes. And then I did finally start to catch some fish. I think I caught like 10 or so. So, you can catch fish. They come through as Steam items, so they can be put on the marketplace for, I think, a whopping 3 cents each. If, you're really hard up and you need a couple pennies for something, you can come in this game, swipe about, and earn a couple pennies. Other than that, I mean, that's all there is to this one, is swiping about and catching fish. So, play at your own risk. Samurai Brothers is a platforming game. This is one that I also played with the controller this week. You run around jumping over things or jumping onto things if you're fortunate enough, and trying to not fall backwards into the map that is chasing you down. So if you hit the back wall, you are killed. If you run into any of the mobs or creatures that are on the map, you slide backwards, like a portion of the screen. So it puts you in a bad position that you have to try to find your way out of. All the score appears to be tied to just how long you stay alive and how far you can travel, not necessarily how many things you kill. But as you kill things, every 5th kill gives you a level and you can unlock new abilities or things to do. I unlocked an ability and then immediately died trying to figure out what it did. But it's a nice game. It's well made. I feel like it was smooth moving around. When you're moving that quickly and trying to jump over things and dodge things, it sometimes can be difficult. But I felt like with the controller, it wasn't too bad. Navigating the map and jumping onto things to defeat them and whatnot. I made it about halfway to the dragon on my playthrough that I had earlier. And I could see myself potentially coming back to this game and trying to get to the dragon just to say I did it. But it's a nice little game. It's a fun little platformer. It's not super difficult. The monsters get harder as you get further. There were some new monsters that, like, one had a shield, one shot upwards. So when you're trying to jump on them, you had to be careful for the bullets that shoot upward. But yeah, it's a good game, and I enjoyed it a decent amount. Farm Wars is a game where I couldn't find a multiplayer game, but I was able to play through the tutorial and get a feel for how the game functions and what the core gameplay loop is. It's in early access, and I really like the concept. The concept is you spend your day planting crops and placing defenses, and then at night there's 30 seconds where your opponent can try to destroy as many crops as they can. And you pick at night which type of animal you want to be to try to destroy things. So if you're a crow, you can't go near the crops that have a scarecrow touching them. Or if you're a bear, you can't go near the crops that have a hunter touching them. And then as a defense, you can also place a mine. And so if you walk onto a space that has a mine, you get blown up and then you can't destroy anything else during that night. But any mine you place goes off in the morning regardless of whether or not your opponent hit it. So that crop is gone. Like, you can place it there, but you're going to lose it for, the purposes of the next day. And so if they avoid it, it's just one more crop you don't gain money from. There are different crops that have different germination cycles. So, if wheat takes a day, tomatoes take 2, so on and so forth. There's a 3, and I think there's at least a 1, 2, and 3 day crop. And then I think the second row is like your defenses. So your scarecrow, your hunter, and your mine. You pick an amount when you start, and when your opponent hits that amount, they win. Or if you hit your opponent's amount, you win. And then whoever picks the lower amount to play with, so it's easier for your opponent to win, right? Because they only have to get like 5,000 instead of 7,000 to win. You start with more money. You start with like a percentage of the difference between what you set your value to and what they set their value to. So there's some strategy to deciding what number makes the most sense to try to play for. There's a lot of things about this game that I find to be really promising, and I'm going to keep an eye on it as it grows and hopefully builds a player base where I'll be able to hop in and play against some other people to see how the multiplayer aspect really plays out. Blob is a chemistry idler where every hour you can come back and claim elements from the periodic table. It'll give you 1 element per row that you have unlocked. So you'll get a hydrogen or a helium, and then you'll get something from the second row. That's all I have unlocked at this point. I'm not sure how you unlock later rows. And then as you acquire elements, you can create compounds. So the one that I was able to make, I kept trying to get an oxygen and just it wouldn't give me one. So I ended up making carbon and 4 hydrogen for methane. So that was what I made for my compound. And so then you have that compound now instead of those elements. All these things are on the Steam marketplace, so you can sell and trade elements to get the compounds you need to unlock everything. And so I think there will be a little bit of, hey, I have this element, I can't seem to get this one. Will someone trade me so that I can unlock it and, complete my periodic table? There's not a lot of active gameplay. There is a clicker portion, but I couldn't figure out the point of it. I have a score from how many clicks I have, but it didn't unlock anything. It didn't speed up the 1 hour timer. So it's just there for if you want to have the game open and do something, you can. But otherwise, open it up every hour, check to see what elements you get, create some compounds, and see how much you can grow your periodic table. Hyperchannel is a first-person Cuphead feel game where it's a drawn animation style. There's jazz music blaring the whole time. I believe it's just the 1 level, and then there's just a number of ghosts waiting to get shot at by you. And so you hold down your right click to enable shoot mode, and then click your left click to fire away at all the ghosts. If you don't right click and just left click, it'll do like a hammer, like swinging like a melee weapon. Also, in order to look around, you need to be holding the right click. It's a nice little game for running around in this little jazz lounge, shooting at all the ghosts that are chasing you. I made it to I think level 5 or something, just jumping over stuff and hiding behind things. The bigger ghosts do shoot projectiles, so you have to kind of manage where they are in relation to you on the map. But it's a fun art style. It's a neat little first-person shooter. It's only the 1 level, but it's still enjoyable to play. It's a good time killer, which I think is how they marketed it on their page. It's a nice little time killer that you can go in, run around and shoot at things for a little bit, listen to some cool music, and then go back to your day. A Coloring Break is a relaxing coloring game where you can pick colors to fill in a canvas. There are 10 canvases that the game comes with for free, and then there's additional DLC to unlock future or more canvases to paint and color. There's an option of using like a pen style while drawing, or any other type of drawing instrument. I stuck to the fill pattern just because I'm not particularly artistic, and so I can pick some colors and dump them in the blank space. I don't know if I could trace the lines to make it look how I want to look, to do something a little more intricate. But it is relaxing. The music's very soothing. And yeah, it's a nice little coloring game that, like I said, you get 10 for free, so you can try it out. And if you like it, then the one that I saw for the DLC was like 70 cents. So it's not like they're requesting a ton of money for the DLC. And so I think that if it's something you enjoy, it's definitely worthwhile to get additional things to color. In Strange New Tides, you are a young Cthulhu who washes up ashore from his homeland to this new island, and you must find a way to make a living. And there's a kind-ish crab lady who gives you a place to stay, and then you have to earn sea glass to pay to upgrade your, meager sand home. And so you can earn seagrass in a couple ways. There's fishing, which is a timing related game. There's finding geodes, which are on the ground, and they give you a certain amount per geode that you find. And then there's gambling if you're up to it. You can go and the way they do it, you basically buy a trading card, and the trading card is either worth more or less than the amount you pay for it. Most of the time, it was worth less when I tried it. So I stuck to fishing. But yeah, you can fish to earn money. If you have good timing, you get 1,500 sea glass, not dollars, per fish. And then you can take that money to the inn to pay for upgrades for your house, and your house is actually over where you spawned. If you're looking to see like where those upgrades are, you can go back to the spawn area and see your little sand castle that you've been building. It's a cute little game. The timing game works out fine. I was able to get the hang of it after a few tries. And then I like that, any game that lets me gamble when I definitely shouldn't be is a game I can get behind. So a nice little, game. It's, something you can play to burn some time and build some sandcastles. Hidden Tomatoes 2 is a pretty difficult hidden object game. There's a bit of an angle to viewing the tomatoes that makes it easy to miss some, as opposed to some of the other hidden object games I've played, which are completely 2D, so you can always see the object you're attempting to find. In this one, there's some times where you won't see it unless you're at the right angle to see like behind a corner, which made it a little difficult. After a pretty thorough lap of the map, I think I had over 20 tomatoes remaining, so I got through a decent amount, but there's still 20 is a lot to still have out there. So it's definitely a little bit harder of a hidden object game. Takes a little more time, which can be nice to make it feel more rewarding when you complete the map. But yeah, it's a nice little hidden object game. If those are the types of games you enjoy doing, then here's another one that's available for you. Transfusion is a VR game that was released this week, and since I don't have VR, I can't play it, but I just want to call it out. It is described as slice enemies into tiny pieces and wield the power of blood magic to survive another day in this fast-paced VR hack and slash. It looks like a kind of arena-style brawler where people charge at you in this arena and you try to fight for as long as you can. Popo and Rob is a multiplayer game that I tried a few times this week to find a lobby for and just wasn't able to secure any gameplay footage. But it is described as an action-packed shooter game that combines dynamic, casual-friendly shooting with a unique twist on movement. Engage in exciting battles where gravity is no limit. Choose your side, Popo or Rob, and immerse yourself in a world that's bright, bold, and brimming with fun. Like I said, there wasn't any servers running, but if you have some friends and you want to try a shooter game, then this game will be out there for you to try. Confluence, and of Sense and Soul Soliloquy, that's a mouthful, is a visual novel that was released this week and is described as a poet ponders queer life and love after his happily ever after. So if you like visual novels, maybe that one's for you.